Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Blockchain Consultants. I'm Cheree, your leader. Today is August 27th. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is our monthly public meeting that we have. And, we usually get together and talk about what's happening in the blockchain industry, and sometimes we bring on a guest, and today we have an absolute superstar that is here with us. Many of you have heard of GUAP in this group. If you haven't, then you definitely want to go and check it out. But this is the CEO of GUAP. So she is going to chat with us a little bit tonight about what she is doing. And, Tavonia, we always allow people to talk, and then we also, have a lot of Q&A as well. And I also like to go over an article of interest and just get your feedback on it, and we'll have other people either ask questions or talk about it as well. So the final thing is, you guys know I don't like to interview people or do these things by myself, so if anyone wants to be brave enough to be a panelist tonight with me, then just let me know in the chat, and I will promote you, because I like to have other people to bounce things off of. So with that, first of all, I want to say welcome. Why don't you tell everyone, I see Chris here as well. Hold on. Tavonia, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and who you are and what GUAP is, and all of that, so we can learn a little bit more about you.
Well, I'm a left brain, right brain person. So I've been a developer as well as a marketing person, designer, creator for almost 20 years. I began, where I started out in design and creating. I used to work for marketing agencies, Knight Ridder. I was in marketing. I love marketing. However, I moved over to the web space. And as I moved over to the web space, I found that I definitely needed to know more development for what I was doing. So that's how I got heavy into development. Kind of as a single mom, I kind of, jumped back and forth to what was, going to be more beneficial for me in terms of taking care of my family. So I settled in development. Then I eventually went over to data analysis and business analysis, went to project management, then on to leading development teams, and of course went on to creating my own startup projects. My first official startup project is Safe to Meet, which I was the founder of. And I left Safe to Meet to start GUAP. During my time at Safe to Meet, I wanted to integrate blockchain into Safe to Meet, but my team at the time was really comprised of some very old corporate heads, and that had no understanding at all of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I left to start my own GUAP. And the reason being was not just because I'm starting this blockchain company, but I wanted to create something that could support businesses and by way of being able to generate funding, because that was a problem that I had with my own startup, was obtaining funding. Mm-hmm. A lot of the projects that I've had over the years, I've bootstrapped.
We all do.
Yeah.
It's the number one problem for our businesses.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I had to take a lot of the good income that I was earning and invested in my own business and all of that. So that's very, very stressful, maintaining. So I wanted to create solutions that could address that situation. Also, I'm very big on gentrification and the preservation of our community businesses, etc. I am the product of, on one side of my family, they're from Wilmington, North Carolina. So one of the things I've seen from Wilmington, North Carolina growing up was when I was little, we owned a lot of land. We had a rich heritage in Wilmington, North Carolina, and now we don't have anything left. there. So that was something that was very concerning to me. Then traveling back to New York, where I'm from, my grandmother owned property in Long Island. Mm-hmm. And going back to Long Island, there's hardly anybody I know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up. So all of that was like really sad to me, because I'm like, where are we disappearing to? Where are we going? What's coming of us? You know, a huge identity crisis for me. And, you know, and I'm like, wow, I've been in a bubble for a lot of years working behind the computer. And now I'm getting back into the community again. And I'm seeing the community as not the community that I remember. Right. So I'm a problem solver. So immediately I get into problem solving mode and what I could do to address these problems. Mm-hmm. Being a developer, I think, kind of helped me really be in problem solving mode. Like right. Everything for me has an answer. And another different thing with me as well is that I'm willing to make mistakes. And I'm willing to kind of put myself out there, because I personally feel that mistakes are a part of the whole process. I mean, after having worked on Fortune 500 companies' websites and work on platforms where I'm literally working on a platform in live while it's, you know, going, and one false move from me and everything is going to blow up. And, mm-hmm. you know, I really don't, you know, I'm just doing it like, okay, got to fix this, got to get this going. So I don't think about the explosions and the blow up. So that's
interesting, because there are a lot of people who do, you know, think about that and how do you tread lightly and all of that. But I want to go back and ask you a couple of questions and then bring Chris in. The first is development. How did you learn how to be a developer? Did you take classes, or was it self-taught?
I learned how to be a developer by fixing code. So I took a side gig fixing code, broken code, everywhere. I didn't care what it was.
But did you take like a beginning course so you would know what to fix, or no? Okay. Or is it just innate for you?
Yeah. Pretty much. I pick up things pretty quickly.
Okay.
So if I don't know it, I'm on Google looking at some, you know, what I need to learn and then going back to it.
Right. And somebody's asking what language?
I started out PHP LAMP stuff. So actually, I started out on a e-commerce platform, OS Commerce. Mm-hmm. So I started out fixing people's OS Commerce sites and modules and developing custom modules and stuff like that. And that grew and grew and grew and grew. I was doing more open source stuff. I was doing, at the time it was called Mambo, and I was doing Joomla. I became one of the top developers in Joomla. I built Samuel Jackson's website in Joomla in 2004 and built his community and, you know, all of that. So I was kind of like the ghost website developer. I was the person behind a lot of websites.
Okay. I'm sorry. Somebody said, I thought this was about blockchain. Martina, I want you to know this is about blockchain, but we are just becoming introduced to Tavonia here. And yes, and her background in GUAP Coin is a blockchain project, a very popular one, especially in our community. So just hold on, we're going to get to that. But I was very curious to know about the development, because a lot of us are not developers. Mm-hmm. And I that's the reason why I kind of honed in on that, because I was very interested. Now, we do have a group of developers that work with us, but a lot of us are not. So that was what piqued my curiosity here. So Chris, why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about who you are. And I know you have to leave in 15 minutes, so also tell us about Blockchain Seattle as well.
Yeah, no problem. So I am currently the co-founder of Blockchain Seattle, which is a blockchain conference taking place on the 10th and 11th here in Seattle. And then I also am president of Dragonchain's incubator project called DragonScale. So Dragonchain is an enterprise platform for building blockchain applications that was originally incubated within Disney and then spun out by the architects. And then they completed their ICO back in October, November of last year, and the platform is now live. And so I am working in the space every single day, come from a marketing and strategy background, but do have a pretty strong understanding of the technical side of the different protocols and platforms. I have a pretty solid understanding of the good, the bad, and the ugly out there, as well as the scams. And I'm super excited that you're putting this together, these types of talks, because there's going to be a lot of wealth generated over the next 10 to 20 years, and we need to be a part of that.
Absolutely, which was one of the primary reasons I started this, was people know that I'm a blockchain capitalist, is what I call myself. So some people are, blockchain naysayers, and other people are blockchain purists. I'm the blockchain capitalist around here. So that's our joke. And a lot of us are in this group as well. So Chris, tell people a little bit more about Blockchain Seattle, what the discussions are going to be, and how they can get a ticket if they want to be a part of it. Froze up.
Yeah, no problem. So is it unfrozen?
No, you're
right,
fine
great.
now. Yeah.
Great. So we have tried to build something that focuses on use cases, particularly enterprise use cases, and focuses on real use cases, people that are actually building, and as focused on kind of cryptocurrency trading or speculating on the market. So we do have a track that's based around finance and crypto assets. What we've tried to do is help people to understand blockchain from the perspective of the use cases that people are actively using. I spent 6 months in blockchain, and what I realized is that most people don't have the freedom or flexibility. So we thought it was best to focus on these enterprise use cases as a vehicle for educating people. And so our three main goals for the conference are around education, second, creating a platform for networking, and third, raising the profile of people and projects in this region. I have spent a significant amount of time trying to ensure that we have a level of diversity, both gender and ethnic diversity, amongst the speakers and panelists. It's not as easy as it might appear, but I've spent a great deal of time doing that, and I'm going to make sure that folks who are there have full opportunity to take advantage of being there, whether it be events, side events, or just meeting and connecting with the people that they want to connect with when they're there. So if you are interested in attending and you're on this, let me know. I will shoot you a promo code with a deep discount so that you can attend and take advantage of this.
Yeah, and send me the discount anyway, because I will put it in our internal newsletter for our Black Blockchain consultants, so that anybody who's interested is able to come. And I know Sarita Hines of Trustabit is going to be there. Any other notable speakers we should know about?
So we have Sarita Lindsay Nguyen, who Lindsay, I believe her maiden name is Ladd, so I think she's Lindsay Boston area. Very, very bright. She's going to be speaking as well as moderating a panel. Obviously, I'll be there doing a bit of speaking and moderating as well. And then we've got a number of folks from the Digital Chamber of Digital Commerce, who's one of the largest lobbying groups in Washington. Their president, she's going to be speaking. We have a Women in Blockchain panel breakfast. It's taking place the second day, where we've got Dominique Shelton. She's an African-American lawyer out of LA who works on privacy in the blockchain space. She'll be on that panel, along with a Hispanic woman, Martha Montoya, who runs an agricultural tools company that's utilizing blockchain, along with a couple of other very prominent women in the sector as well. So got a pretty good mix of folks. Over 100 speakers there. They're all available on the website, blockchainseattle.io. I encourage people to take a look.
Right. So the website is blockchainseattle.io. I will get the discount code from Chris, and I'll put it in the newsletter in the next day or two, whenever you send that to me. And that way everyone can get that. So before you leave, I wanted both of you to comment on this article that I found that I thought was very interesting. So I'm going to come here and share my screen here with all of you and show this from CNBC. 84% of companies are dabbling in blockchain, a new survey says. So I wanted to read a little bit of this and then get your feedback, especially with the very last sentence that I read here. So it's saying here that companies don't want to be left out of the blockchain. This is a new report published by PwC on Monday saying that 84% of executives surveyed said their companies are actively involved with the technology. Now, according to them, PwC's 2018 Global Blockchain Survey included 600 executives from 15 territories. We don't know how many US executives there are, but I'm pretty sure it's probably more outside the United States than inside, but we'll see. So it talks about what blockchain is, and it said here, companies such as Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook are exploring the technology, which all of us know. Facebook announced in May it is going through a reorganization that will include a new blockchain effort. IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, JP Morgan, and HSBC are among the other corporate names with similar initiatives. And then it continues on, and this was what I thought was interesting that I want to get you, Tavonia and Chris, to chat with me about here. Despite the growing interest, other research from Cowen estimated that it will take about 6 years, 5.9 years, for blockchain to gain widespread adoption. I have spoken to some people that have said it's going to be a lot faster than that. Other people are saying, you know, it's going to be a decade. I was just wondering, since both of you kind of have your ears to the ground and you're both in blockchain projects, what do you think about the landscape of blockchain as an industry and where it's going and how quickly or how slowly it's going to get there?
Well, I guess I have one foot on both sides, enterprise and then on the streets. One of my close friends, she's an executive at Cisco. So her and I have been talking back and forth about blockchain. She's familiar with GUAP and everything. And it wasn't until recently she just sent me a flurry text message. Oh my God, we're all getting sent to blockchain training. So, and this was probably about maybe 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. So, and they literally had like a crash course on blockchain for everybody there. And so it was interesting, you know, getting that message and, you know, seeing that. But I also have a foot on the street because a large part of my effort with GUAP, and you know, I didn't really get into where GUAP is right now because we evolved into something really totally different from what we started. But you know, the main part of my effort is on the streets and with millennials and in the hip hop community. And the reason being is because my family is very tightly integrated into the music industry. And I don't think there's any greater influencers than who we have access to. But we just had to get our platform to a point to whereas it was going to be, it will enable influencers to openly talk about it. Because right now we're going decentralized. I'm not the CEO anymore. We have a foundation that we're growing. So this is something that we're giving to the people. We want the people to adopt this as a currency, not just a blockchain. This is another alternative currency. So with my foot on the streets, I see that there is a huge buzz, and there's always been with Bitcoin and blockchain. And I think it's just one possible statement away, one viral statement away from everybody going to download some wallet and, experimenting with this. So,
well, I think that, so from what I understand, it's also something that is user-friendly. And that's kind of where blockchain, it's like when the internet started, people went in and typed in 1.64.49. Blah 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 blah, and no one really understood that. But when you were able to put in blackblockchainconsultants.com and it made it user friendly, that's when the masses were able to participate in it. And it's my understanding that Ethereum had a Mist, that's what it was called, Mist, which was, they were playing around with it to be the browser for blockchain. And I know that got stifled as a project, but I know that a lot of other companies are trying to work on that as well. And that's why I personally believe that these are putting millions, tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars into blockchain, because once they can get the bridge to creating something that anybody can use, that's when the mainstream adoption will really come. So, so Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I look at where the space is right now, and I liken it to where the internet was in the early 90s. I remember going to college and my email address was something you could never tell to somebody because it was about, 1.5 foot long, and only people you could email were your professors. We're in the early stages of the development of the technology, but we've got the same type of hype and notoriety as we did in the later stages of the dot-com boom, and that's because of the price of Bitcoin. So what I expect that we'll see is we need more of the railroad tracks being laid between the stations right now. So we're still building out infrastructure that's going to enable the broad scale adoption, particularly on the consumer side. We will see enterprise adoption pick up quicker because some of the pain points that blockchain addresses are really pointy on the enterprise side, and that they will deal with some of the friction that comes with an early technology. It will take a bit longer on the consumer side because we've got to catch up both in terms of these railroad tracks, the infrastructure, and then creating UI, UX interfaces that people are comfortable with. And then also dealing with some of the basic challenges of, what happens if I lose my private keys? Grandma's not going to put her money in if she loses her private keys and, and all her money's gone. That's just a fact. So we've got to deal with some of these really basic challenges there. So that number, 6 years, 5.9 years from a consumer adoption perspective sounds about right to me in terms of broad based, but we'll see pockets likely take off before then. And I think the enterprise side will definitely take off before then.
I agree with that. Yeah. So a couple of additional questions in here for both of you about, there were a lot of questions about becoming a developer. So one of the questions is from Malcolm Watson. He's asking, for those of us just getting into the space, how do we get started as developers? Do we have to have formal training, or is this something we can learn online? And Chris, are you a developer?
I am not a developer. I am a marketing and strategy guy with a decent understanding of the technology from the bottom up. But I do not write code. I didn't come into it from that perspective.
Okay. All right. Well, Tavonia, I know you already answered this, but if you wouldn't mind answering it again.
It depends. For me, it depends on what you want to do and what you're trying to achieve. Because if you're trying to get in blockchain because you want to create your own project, then you don't have to learn a lot of different things. You know what I mean? But if you want to get in blockchain because you want to work for enterprise, then there's going to be a totally different set of requirements. They actually have, and I hate that I can't remember, but when I was in Europe, they launched a major blockchain school. But I can't remember what it is. I think it's called Academy or something. But they have like 3 tracks where they're pumping out blockchain developers because they need them fast because the industry doesn't have enough blockchain developers to address the need. So that being said, there are a lot of fast track programs available, and some of them are kind of costly. And because they're fast track programs, they're not coming through universities, so you can't use things like financial aid and stuff like that. but you may be able to take out a loan or something to cover it. So if you go into a fast track program, you're looking at something like it's something under a year where it's going to actually place you straight into some with the company, because these schools also have relationships with companies.
Right.
So if you want to go that route, then that's what you're going to have to go through. But it's plenty available, for you to be able to get into. Now, if you're trying to,
I'd also no, go ahead. I was just going to say I'd also add Dragonchain, my company, we're implementing a developer academy where people can get certified on the Dragonchain platform, and that comes with some benefits as well, and that's going to be something that's free. So for people that are interested, keep an eye out there.
Yeah, and that was actually another thing I was going to say. You can get into and adopt in certain platforms, because if you become a blockchain developer, let's say you're an Ethereum developer, you're only dealing with Solidity, then you may only need to learn JavaScript and stuff like that to deal with that. But if you're going to get into advanced development, which is actually building out chains, whether it's side chains, main chains, or whatever, then you have to get into more C#, Java, etc. to be able to do that. So you're going to have to take some training in those things. And C# is something that you can learn on your own, but it's best to go to get a course on it. However, I wouldn't go signing up for like college for a course in it, because they don't even have college courses that intensely deal with blockchain. They have college courses that are going to teach you different programming languages. But one of the things I found, and I did go to college too, but I went to be a sys engineer. One of the things that I found is that they don't teach specifically for current world, things, unless you're going to a technical school. So, those are the things that you're going to have to look at. I would suggest that you do your own personal studies, and you definitely try to connect with a mentor or somebody that can guide you along certain steps that you may want to go to personally, because it's a big world, it's a big field, so you don't have to learn everything, but you got to learn what it is, what path that you want to take in the field.
Right. And then Malcolm is asking, is it Dragonchain? It's Dragonchain, CHAIN. So DRAGONCHAIN. So Chris, do you still have to go at 8:30? Because it's
yes. Unfortunately, I have to run to another blockchain event.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you, and send that discount code so a lot of other people can come as well. Tavonia, you had something you want to say?
Oh, I was saying nice to meet Mr. Jones. This is my first time meeting him too. So.
Yes, pleasure meeting
we're
you
connectors around here.
Yes, I've been following you on LinkedIn, girl.
Oh, okay.
All right. You guys have a good one. And please feel free to reach out if I can, help in any way. I am absolutely committed to this. So I'm super excited about what you're doing and happy to support in any way that I can.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
Okay. So, so one of the things you talked about, you had a couple of things that I want to kind of circle back to. One was in regards to, you mentioned that if we wanted to do development projects, like being a block entrepreneur, or blockpreneurs as I call them, we don't necessarily have to know developing. That struck a chord with me because most of us are not developers in this group. So I'd love to have your perspective on, we've got a blockchain idea. What would you do? How would you counsel us as one of our, let's say, board members through the process of getting it up, operational, getting the coin out there, etc.?
Well, that's kind of one of the things that I do outside of GUAP. I do accelerating blockchain projects. So when I come from my perspective of where I'm coming from, mainly I'm dealing with people of color. Mainly I'm dealing with people who have a restricted budget and a restricted time, and this is a new space. So I'm using all of that in my mind, and I'm putting it together on what will be the simplest path to getting out an MVP. Now, that is the key to any startup in the tech world. is getting to your MVP, not getting to something that may be perfect or have all of the features that you want to have, but how can you get to your first step? You know, how can you achieve that? Because that's going to be the portal that opens you up to potential funding and resources and more development. But how can you get to your MVP? And in the blockchain space, and see, that's the thing. You have these people, you have, you know, the geeks, the script kiddies, all of them, and they're pumping out MVPs, you know? So you may have to, you know, go to the forums. You may have to see what they have out there that kind of aligns with what you're trying to do. And that may be the platform that you may wind up coming to. Originally, GUAP, we were on Ethereum. And I knew we weren't going to stay on Ethereum, but I knew we had to make a start somewhere. So,
that's very interesting. Was it difficult for you to change from Ethereum to where are you now? What is GUAP on now?
Well, currently, right now, we have our own blockchain. We launched October 1st.
Was that difficult for you to change from Ethereum to your own?
Well, no. Well, it was at first because we did a lot of overthinking. You know what I mean? We did a lot.
Interesting.
We did a lot of overshooting, and I had to spend a lot of time really knee deep in research and reading and reading and reading, and seeing what other people were doing, seeing what other platforms are out there that could, fit with our cause and what we're trying to do. So I had to do a lot of research, and researching people. These are places that people don't typically look. Most of the time when people are trying to get into the blockchain space or have their own project, they're getting books. They're looking at, you know, the traditional ways, but they're not going on the forums. They're not going in development forums. They're not going on the Discords. They're not going in any of these places to see what people are doing in real life just to pump something out. Now, I already knew that this was, you know, what was happening. But I still often have a need to find out what's going on under the hood. So after that, I still have to do more research and looking into the technology and looking at how it's working for other people and all of that. And one of the biggest things I found in getting to a blockchain MVP is the mathematics involved, you know, especially if you're dealing with something like currency. Like, I haven't had to use my math skills in a long time. So my math skills are now coming more to play than my development skills have been. I've been, you know, using a lot of math recently and trying to work out spreadsheets and numbers, which actually comes from my data analysis background too. So that was cool. It was like I was ready for it, but still, you know, you'll find that you're exploring areas that are so outside of the box of what you may think that you need to look. And you got to be willing to just do that research. You can't think about the amount of time or a setback or anything. It's just imperative to do the research, because even if you're not going to be the one to do the development or do the work, it's good to have the research that you can lead the people to be able to do what you need them to do. Because they're surely going to ask you questions, and you are going to have to be the one to make those final decisions on certain things. They're not going to be able to do that. So that's where the research comes along in the whole process. But then that's why you got to know something, so you're able to lead people to being able to produce the product that you need to be produced.
Right. A couple of our guys. So first of all, people are asking what's MVP. Yes, MVP is minimally viable product. Thank you, Dr. Keisha, for putting that in there. A couple of our team members, of course, everyone knows, or hopefully you know, within Blockchain Consortium International, which is our consulting company, do technical statements of work. So they work with the entrepreneurs to come up with the requirements to give the developers, because the thought and the process is, if you have those requirements written out, then you can inexpensively get the code written that you want to have written. And many of you may not know this, but I happen to be a business plan writer by trade that helps companies raise capital. And outside of the MVP, I think there are two more things that you need. Number one is to build a community pretty quickly. Doesn't have to be 18 million people, but just a community of people that are using it, that are excited about it, that are talking about it, doing iterations of what you started, you know, and then if you're looking to really raise money, you need a business model. At the end of the day, especially if you're going to any kind of angel investor or venture capitalist, they're going to want to know, okay, we're willing to fund you for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but this thing has got to be able to make money in some sort of way. So you've got to have a business model. And what we as consultants need to do is we need to be well-versed or have a team that's well-versed in helping our clients do these 3 things. Because when we're able to do that, then that's how we get them to $100 million companies, is by getting them through this first, set of items. Tavonia, do you have anything else to add, or do you think I misspoke?
That's absolutely perfect. I mean, that's what I tell people. That's the way you start, because a lot of people, they go to developers to get things done, and they wind up not getting what they wanted to get. And that's mainly because of the leadership of, getting the proper requirements from them to be able to put together your product. That's so important. So it's really important to reach out to someone like you and have that done before you go do anything else, because that's going to save you a lot of money, and it's going to save you a lot of heartache just not being able to get what it is that you're trying to get accomplished.
Right.
And another key part is the marketing aspect. And that's a part that not even just us suffer from, the whole entire industry.
Yeah.
Marketing void. And that's part of the reason why there isn't mainstream adoption. Because for mainstream adoption, you have to be able to translate this technology into something that's consumable for the mainstream. And at this point, there hasn't been a lot of effort put in that initiative, you know what I mean? So the marketing is very, very, very key and crucial. So if you divide the task into 2 parts, and one part being your technical, your requirements, your business plan, business model, and the other part being your marketing, that's where you're going to have to, these are the 2 beasts that you're going to have to deal with. Now, there are ways to bootstrap the marketing, and marketing is a lot more affordable and easier than it's been in the past. But however, you may want to go to somebody that deals with marketing in general and work with them, and you go with them and you deal with that. So this may be your initial expense. Your initial expense bubble may be these things, so that's a good start, and it's a good enough start.
Right.
You don't have to
I will say that with marketing, and I put marketing and community together, because when you're marketing, the whole point is to build a community of people that like your MVP and are willing to help you push it to the proverbial next level, whatever new features you want to add. With marketing, though, it's important that people be consistent with their marketing. And I've suffered with that in my own business, so I'm kind of preaching to myself here. But it's better for you to say, you know what, I'm going to spend 2 hours every day doing my marketing, and you be consistent with that, than for you to do 40 hours one week and 2 hours the next week. It's more important for you to, if you, like we have this call the 4th Monday of every month, and I'm like dead set on like never ever canceling it unless there's a really extreme reason why. Why is that? Because people kind of come to expect and need, to know, okay, on the 4th Monday of every month, we're going to all get together and we're going to have this call and this meeting, But if I came out and did the 4th Monday this month, and then, the 2nd Tuesday next month, that just doesn't work. So those are some of the little things that I've learned in business that are truly very helpful, not only for just blockchain projects, but if you're a blockchain consultant, if you're doing any kind of other consulting, the consistency of building your community really is key. So, so we have a couple of people here asking about mining within. So they're asking. Sylvain is asking this in regards. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I actually wanted to address that.
Yeah, because that's a good question about the mining.
But this is an issue too, where you're looking too far down the line. past that, because what if you're not doing POW? What if you're just doing proof of stake? You know, you haven't even gotten to the part whether or not you're going to need mining or not, you know? So searching for miners, that you got to put, if you haven't even gotten to the blockchain yet, what technologies you're going to use, and you're requiring all that, put that to the end, because that's increasing the complexity of all you're going to have to do, and all you're going to do is get more anxiety for yourself trying to figure that part out. You know what I mean? And that's the very least thing. I believe in my project, so that's the least thing that I'm worried about is mining. I'm trying to, you know, I haven't even assembled miners. I know that there's people in the back that say, hey, we want to mine GUAP, but I haven't dealt with that yet. You know, you got to deal with core things. But if you use Ethereum, you can capitalize on the existing network. But if you build on Ethereum, then number one, you're going to have to pay fees to Ethereum. So that is going to have to, right, and that you have to factor into your thing. Are you going to want to be paying fees to Ethereum for your project? Because maybe your project is a zero fee something, or what, you know, whatever. So you're gonna have to think of all of those things in relation to Ethereum. And then additionally, what we ran into is that, you know, there's issues with the SEC, you know what I mean? Because now the SEC is slowly squeezing out the concept of utilities and stuff like that running on Ethereum. So that's a danger, a risk. So you're talking about already having multiple risks building on top of Ethereum. You know, and I found those risks with other platforms too. Yeah. But, you know, I just opted. I would not suggest that you use Ethereum for anything other than an ICO. If you're just doing a token, if you're doing a fundraise, you know what I mean, and you're using your tokens to raise funds, that's to me the only reason for using Ethereum.
Yeah, and I mean, these days you can even get away with not using Ethereum for the fundraising. You know, you can choose another platform like NIM or was it Stellar or something like that. You can also choose to go the private blockchain route, whether it's IBM or Block or something like that. So a part of it goes back to my, you know, number 3, which is what's your business model? Who are you targeting at the end of the day? Because if you're doing enterprises, I highly doubt an enterprise is going to put their stuff on a public blockchain. That's, you know, so it depends a little bit on who's going to be using what you are creating. And then there was another question about the size of the community to be viable. I think it kind of depends. It depends on, is it a consumer product or is it an enterprise product? Go ahead.
And that viability is also going to depend on if you're pitching to investors and stuff like that, because they're going to be the ones deciding how viable it is to them. For you, it may be very viable, but for them, they're going to look at different numbers. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Because at this point, I'm not pitching to for VC funding. So it doesn't matter, you know. But if you are pitching for VC funding, you're going to have to really figure out what market is viable and present that to them, because you got to do your research and present that to them in the pitch.
Right, absolutely. So, so you mentioned that GUAP was helping people raise capital, and of all of the, especially Black blockpreneurs that I encounter, they really do talk about how hard it is for us to raise capital. Tell me a little bit about what GUAP is doing to help that issue.
Well, what we've done in our blockchain is created a fund, a treasury fund, that would be available by submitting a proposal or a request that's going to be voted on. So we build in a democratic system to vote on the distribution of funds for maybe a start of a new business or expansion of a business, or even for charitable efforts. So that's just what we were focusing on. We always had the idea of a fund built in. So now we've been able to pretty much implement that portion of it. So that's,
is this through a foundation officially, or?
Well, this is all coded. So no one has any, except for voting on it, no one has any direct impact to whether or not you'll get that funding. That's all done by voting.
Okay.
So,
someone else is asking, is it a DAO?
It's similar. It's similar, but not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. But and if you want to know, we've actually forked our blockchain from Dash. So if anybody is familiar with Dash, then they should know pretty much how that governance works, because the whole idea of governance is where we were aiming for it anyway. But what we're doing is we're creating 2 layers. What Dash does is you actually submit your proposal directly to the blockchain for review. What we're doing is you can submit your proposal through to the web layer or the decentralized app, and those will get filtered on and then submitted into the blockchain, because it's going to be a lot more affordable that way. Because in order to submit projects using that type of platform, you actually have to pay to submit, because to submit a project. So we're anticipating that people are not are going to have problems with that type of, we don't want the value of GUAP to get to some level to whereas certain things become unaffordable. You know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to keep down, while other people create blockchains because they want it to get to some extreme values. We're actually using this in real time, in real scenarios. We want to be able to use it with merchants. We want to be able to use it affordably. So, those are the things that we're keeping in consider. Do you have a link? I have a link. I'll post to the updated PDF, which is actually being updated again.
Okay.
And you got to pardon me, because that's another thing. If you're in blockchain, your documents, everything you have is going to change.
Constantly changing. Yeah.
Basis. And initially, people didn't understand that when I was telling them, because they didn't know a lot about blockchain. And last year, and I'm telling them, okay, we have to revise this, we have to revise that. They don't understand that this is an industry that just makes so many changes. Like, I initially said I wanted to have a cap for this, and I wanted this to be our cap, and I wanted this to be the reward. But after working out the math, I realized we can't do that, because if we do this, then we have to account for, inflation, this and that. So I'm now an economist, which I'm not an economist, but we have to constantly make changes and adjust.
Right.
We can't just say, oh, we can't do this. We got to make an adjustment to make it happen.
Well, that's part of being an entrepreneur too, is being able to adjust. And part of being a blockchain entrepreneur is adjusting pretty quickly. Sylvain is asking, do we have a link about Dash?
Yeah,
Dash is a very, very popular blockchain project. You can even go on to CoinMarketCap and find information about it. So Dash is very, very popular. I do want to let you know, Tavonia, that we have people in Europe and in the Middle East and in Asia on the call tonight here with you. So they look, they're riding for you, girl. So I just saw some of the names of some of the people in our group that I know are halfway across the world here, up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You know who you are. So I do see you there. Won't call your name out because I know where you're located. So anyway, so any final words in regards to, again, this is Black Blockchain Consultants, so we really do talk about how we can get our piece of the $3.1 trillion industry. And someone's on their way to Tokyo too. Oh, whew. Great. Go ahead, Sydney. I'm jealous. I want to go to Japan. So what we want to do is figure out how we can get our piece of the $3.1 trillion industry, if not more. Any final words you have for us in regards to, us as a people, and then us as individuals, for our families being able to ride the wave with this?
Well, my biggest thing, and I guess this is what I always say, is be gentle with yourself in this whole thing, because this is a whole new industry, and everybody doesn't have all the answers. No matter how well answered people may look, a lot of people don't have the answers. So don't be so difficult or hard on yourself, and and make the requirements for yourself so huge and create your own barriers. Because I think that's what we do as a people, because I know personally after my journey of where I am right now, I do realize that I've created my own barriers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a point where I had to just knock down the barriers that I created and just start fresh. So just note that when you see yourself creating more barriers for yourself, definitely address that. You know what I mean? So, oh, you're welcome. And Dash, by the way, is being used in Venezuela. So that was another reason why I was looking at it, because they're trying to implement it in a community that's suffering economically. In the pricing, the value of their money is nil.
Nothing.
So,
yeah.
So they have a very, very close affinity to what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So, naturally I was like, okay, bingo, this is where I need to be looking for something that could potentially be successful.
Right.
But that is the biggest thing. Don't create new barriers for yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask questions, especially in the community, because we're really good about answering questions and helping each other along. Definitely join as many groups as you can, the Telegram groups, communities, try to learn and definitely participate, like get out and participate in different conferences and different events. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the funds, it's always a phone call away to pick it up and say, I really would like to attend this, but I don't have the funds. And 9 times out of 10, there's a way that you can get in somewhere. And if you can't, go to some of the other organizations, like, there's a lot of Black organizations now. And you can go to them, and there's a lot of advocates that will be like, okay, let's help this person get in because they want to go here. So we could just make a phone call and say, we have some people that want to go, talk to the diversity people. They need to get more Black faces in there, people of color in there, blah, 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 and get you in the door in some places. You know what I mean? At minimum half, but you might more times than not for free. So definitely show up to these places, because that's where you're going to learn the most. You're going to learn what people are doing out there, what technology is available, what platforms are available. That's where you learn a lot. I've learned a lot in the conferences. I speak in all the conferences, and people don't understand. I go to these conferences, I can learn. I speak and I can teach and give my thing, but I learn a lot when I go to places.
And this industry is really small. We think, there are, well, I don't know, maybe a million people in this industry. I know when I looked on my LinkedIn, it was like 250 something, which you think is a lot of people, but that's not a lot of people. And in this industry, it is a little bit of who you know, and making sure that you're linked in. If you're a certified blockchain consultant or certified blockchain expert, making sure your LinkedIn is up to date and reaching out to people. Like Tavonia said, there are a lot of groups on Telegram and on LinkedIn and Facebook, and just getting involved in the conversation. And she's absolutely right about going to different meetings. And of course, our conference is coming up November 2nd and 3rd. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, it's blackwealthandblockchain.com. I promise you are going to have a really, really good time. We are talking about building $100 million blockchain projects and creating wealth within the Black community and investing in blockchain projects and all of that. So with that, Eric is here. Hey, Eric Guthrie, Government Blockchain Association. Yes, he's going to be there at the conference. So let's see. Oh, and a couple other things for Blockchain Consortium International. Starting next month, we're going to have a couple of hires. One of them will be a social media manager that Tawana and I want to bring on. And here's the thing, you do not have to have experience, but Tawana and I are going to agree on a class that we want you to take. And then from there, you can be our social media manager, which will be a paid position. So only if you are a blockchain consultant within BCI can you get this. So reach out to Tavonia if you are interested in that, and we will keep you on the list to be considered for that. Also, we're looking for a couple of other prospectors as well. So if you like to email people and say, hey, this is what we're doing, you know, we'd like to set up an appointment with you and Cheree, who's our CEO. I'm looking for a couple of people who want to do that as well, and those are paid positions as well. So let Tavonia know what you are interested in. Again, this is only for people that have signed up to be a part of Blockchain Consortium International. And you know who you are if you've done that. So with that, Tavonia, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm always happy when people agree with me, because at least I know I'm on the right track when I'm talking to people. And, you know, someone like you that's kind of echoing some of the things that I've been saying is really great. But I also like to, you know, learn a little bit more as I've done tonight as well, in terms of you being a developer. I think it's, especially as a Black female being a developer, I think that is, I wish I had that talent. Let's just say that. It's just not me. But with that, you know, any final words for the family before we let everybody go?
No, I'm very, very grateful for you giving me your time. I'm sending a lot of gratitude for that. Thank you very much. I'm not going to hold you any longer.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. Definitely keep an eye out for us. October 1st is our official launch. We are updating the website this week with more current information. So next week you'll probably have all of the latest. But I have been doing a lot of hats and feet right now. So I'm a little bit behind on updating the information, but we're working hard on that. So thank you very, very much.
And we have a community of about 124 consultants. So if ever there's something you're like, I just need help and I want to hire a person of color, you've got my information. Just reach out to me and say, Cheree, I'm looking for this, and we'll make sure to let our group know, because
Awesome.
We want to help you. Because if you're successful, then we're successful. So yeah, so definitely let us know. Don't be shy with regards to what you need.
Thank you. Thank
okay.
You.
All right, everybody. Good night. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.